Jeremiah 29 verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, said the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a future and a hope. Today, we're going to be talking about you are a destiny of hope. But before we even get there, we have to remember that the Bible says we have to train up a child in the way that they should go, and that when they are old, they will not depart from it. So if I ask you, what are the love needs that a child has? You'll probably tell me food, clothing, shelter, health care, education. What else? Hugs, kisses. Yes, those are all things that we do to demonstrate our love. God has great plans in store for us. And actually, these plans are not surprises. They were actually predestined for us, and they are good. They are plans for our future and our hope. I know along the path of life, we don't always meet upon good things, because as much as God has a good plan for our lives, the adversary also has a plan to thwart the plans of God for our lives. So the theme for Child Month is listening to the voices of our children as they cry out for solace. So listen up. Children's voices matter. And we are long past the days of children should be seen and not heard. Today, children's voices matter. I'm very happy for all our stakeholders who know and understand the value of the voice of a child. But in order to be more effective in listening to the voice of our children, we have to know what their needs are. And of course, no one will know the needs of a child more than the parent or the caregiver of that child, right? So I say our caregiver because I remember when I had my first child, I didn't know anything about child rearing, more than, helping around with his siblings or so forth. But then for you, it's a totally new experience. At that time, the experts were the doctors and nurses, that help the new mother to understand what caring for a child would be about. Sometimes it's the elderly matriarch in the home, or some other caregiver that is the one who gives that basic need that the child requires. But this material we're going to be taking from the Destiny of Hope series, and it talks about the implications of met or unmet childhood love needs. And I'm going to be brief as we look at some of the needs that children have, which are outside of the food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, education, etc. But these are actually love needs broken down into simple laws, if you would, that if these needs are not met, it could have adverse effects not only on children but on adults in the future. All right, so we have the first one is affection and nurture. So there are 7 of them, affection and nurture. So all children need affection. Coming into this world, they need to be loved, they need to be hugged, they need to be kissed, they need to be touched. Teach children about good touch and bad touch. Good touch make them feel comfortable. Bad touches make them uncomfortable. Listen to the voices of your children when they tell you something or someone makes them feel uncomfortable. If you realize that when the baby is born, the first thing after the doctor checks the baby and makes sure that the baby is well and the mother is well, the next step is bonding the baby's plate squarely on the body of the parent or of the both parents if the resources are available to have both parents, especially the mother. And so that warmth develops between the child and the parent or parents. And so the smell, the special touch, the sight, the feeling, and so all of these senses are activated as a child becomes to learn and understand more about their caregiver, and the caregiver learns and understand more about the child. What does it mean when the child yawns, and what does it mean when, they get very irritated? Do they want to be changed or whatever? So that care that is demonstrated at the earliest level of the child coming into the world and thereafter helps to develop basic trust in the child. And if these needs are not developed, what might likely happen is that the child will grow up with an inability to trust, coldness of heart, or can become very performance oriented. I must do things this way and I must carry out these objectives, and life is all about work and performance, and if that doesn't happen, I'm a failure. If we are unable to trust, then likely we won't have healthy relationships. Let me give you a small demonstration. I'm going to ask everybody to stand. Just stand. Stand where you are. Okay. Very good. You may be seated. Now, nobody, when they were sitting, felt the chair, felt the seat, made sure that it was firm, examined it before they sat. You trusted that seat to hold you up. And so, when we have trust, that's what it feels like. It means that if there are persons who are in our support group, we know that they won't allow us to fall. We kind of, let go in their hands, in our families, in our marriages. You're the children. I have 2, and sometimes if I'm not looking, they would just say, "Mommy, catch me," and they are jumping off the bed because they know I'm not going to make them fall. So that's what basic trust looks like. And that's something that we are encouraged to have with God. And if that basic trust relationship is impaired with us and our chief caregiver as young as a baby, it's going to be problematic for us to have this trust in God. Trust in the Lord with all of thine heart, and lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path.